Hello, Sonny Bonanni. Welcome to the top tier BrakeAway Racing League action in time for the second of 28 laps around the circuit of the Americas. Welcome to Texas. Welcome to the Don Rabico Show. In the second of 28 laps, he leads Smirch Django. It's Aston Martin versus Mercedes as BrakeAway Racing League resumes its top tier action in the 9th race of the season. It's a 14 driver complement of racers that we have here, and in the middle of the pack it is Tindo versus the 86er, and I would have you know that the 86er has just reclaimed that 10th and final spot in the points currently as he nudges Tindo down to P11 as things currently stand. It is the 86er and Tindo fighting it off there for P10. I am Lipo, a further 5.5 seconds behind. Romeo and Man Ray make up the rear, currently P13 and 14 respectively. Now, the story of the day, it's Don Rabico, who has just crossed the line to begin the third lap with the quickest time, 1:37.1, I believe that was. Django following and struggling to hang on to the clutches of Don Rabico, struggling to hang on to DRS. Mex is not very far behind, currently P3. Sun Hashira is in the 4th spot, so it's a good day for Aston Martin if you're a fan, currently P1 and 4 respectively. Sun Hashira in his rookie Tier 1 season, currently holding on strong to that P4 spot. Capoza looking to have his say on the Aston Martin driver's tail, if you will. It's P5 for the Williams driver, Seppo Temba, just a second behind. Seppo Temba, a driver who has struggled by his own lofty standards this season. He's looking to have a decent day here at the Circuit of the Americas. And as we hop on board with him, we'll get a sense of how this race is going on as far as the track map and that sort of race info is concerned. Mandla has just overtaken Lipo all the way down in P12, so we'll catch up with that action a little later. But look at that, it's Capoza on the inside of Sun Hashira, and the Williams driver is now up to P4 and setting his sights on the top 3 spot. Capoza back in scorching hot form as he is, well, so accustomed to doing, making light work of Sun Hashira, who struggles here through the traction zones, and Seppo Temba will not need a second invitation. Sun Hashira is going to fight back versus the AlphaTauri driver, but it's not going to be easy, of course. We'll hop on board with Sun Hashira to see exactly how that fight back will fare. He's lost 2 places, has Sun Hashira, in the space of a single sector. Now, fighting for his life, because as he tries to catch up to Seppo Temba, Loveness will be there to take advantage of any mishap whatsoever. And look at that, it's a DRS complement. Capoza, Seppo Temba, Sun Hashira, and Loveness, who thought about going on the inside of the Aston Martin, but did not have enough time to do so. Usual suspects up front, says definitely Duke. In the comments, absolutely. Don Rabico versus Smirch Django is some action that we will get to in a second as we get a beautiful sweeping helicopter shot of this 4-way fight in the midfield over here at the Circuit of the Americas. On board with Loveness we go. Sector 1 looking very comfortable, hanging on very tightly to the clutches and the coattails of Sun Hashira ahead of him. Loveness on the medium compound of tire. And of course, it is something that we're going to pay close attention to. It's a medium compound tire for Loveness, while Sun Hashira ahead has opted to go long at the beginning on 3-lap old hard compound tires. Welcome, if you've just joined us, it's top tier BrakeAway Racing League action. And down the DRS straight, it's Loveness on the attack, using that DRS as he sweeps to the outside, hoping to catch Sun Hashira, who hangs on to the inside line, making Loveness go the long way around. But Loveness is going to go side by side. We'll have the inside line through this right-hander. But despite that, Sun Hashira is trying to fight it, but he cannot have enough in the bag, and Loveness gets that move done. B6 for the fast-moving Haas driver. Sun Hashira falling, slipping, sliding, making his way backwards through the pack. Let's get back to the front of proceedings. It's Mex versus Django versus Don Rabico. The two soft tire runners having taken, of course, their own strategic call. Mex will have the advantage as far as being able to go longer on his medium compound tire choice that he chose here today. And they now begin the 5th of a total 28 laps, running in close succession. We're on board now with the Alpine driver. He's pretty much flying the flag for Alpine today. And meanwhile, Debo Croc and Capoza are representing a full complement as far as representation for Team Williams is concerned. Speaking of Capoza, not quite enough in the bag to make his say on this fight for the podium places. That gap extending now to 4 seconds. That gap being between Mex and Kapoza. Tepo Temba, P5, as things currently stand, will stay with this action between the top 3. Don Ravico and Django content to pretty much, pull each other along. Django not quite going on the offensive as things currently stand. Django has been speaking quite openly about his struggles to reclaim the kind of form that saw him really tear it up as far as his own race pace was concerned. So Smooch Django has switched to the racing wheel since the start of this here season and is slowly but surely finding his way back to tip-top shape and to some fantastic pace that made his name on the BrakeAway Racing League organization. We will see whether or not he can hang on as far as that is concerned. Meanwhile, in the comments, Christopher Crash Mkize says, Mex, commending the superb effort that this man in the Alpine is putting up in making sure that he stays in touch with the top 2 drivers. This is, of course, a punishing track as far as tire life is concerned. So Mex has done, of course, very well to make sure that the soft tire runners in front of him do not run away from him and do not get away from him. And Mex is doing a decent job to be able to pretty much take advantage when the opportunity comes for him to possibly claim a race lead. But we've seen the likes of Sun Hashira further behind struggle and make a couple of mistakes, so Mex just needs to keep it clean from here on out. Meanwhile, a little bit further down the pack, Seppo Temba was in touching distance of Loveness. He keeps on slipping in and out of the DRS as we see yellow flags. We see a safety car that has come out. But the question is, for who? Ban Kobe is here in the comment section. We miss his presence out on track. We're going to get a quick sense of who might have lost a wing. Lipo is running very, very far behind. Yep, it is definitely Lipo who may have brought out that safety car running wingless at the back of the pack. 5-lap old soft compound tires really starting to scream. And, Lipo perhaps took a little bit of a moment. And that lost wing necessitating or bring out the necessity, according to race control, for a safety car. We still have all 14 drivers active and running out on track, and this safety car will, of course, be a great opportunity for Don Ravico and the Smirch Django, who started on the softs, to come into the pit at this early stage. And not surprising, on goes the set of hard tires for Don Ravico, and it's ditto for Smirch Django. And as this safety car activates this pit window, the order is shuffled somewhat, meaning our new race leader is none other than the fast-moving Mex. Titus commending the kind of pace that Mex was showing in keeping up with the likes of Don Radical and Smirch Django. It's P1 for the Alpine driver, who has been a revelation since making his way through the BrakeAway Racing League league ladder, if you will, or the BrakeAway Racing League pyramid, if you can call it that, from the lower tiers, and now holding his own in the top tier. Duke reckons that, you know what, Mex actually should have pit. Perhaps also at this point could have chosen a set of hard compound tires and made sure that he stays in touch and keeps abreast with the leading Don Ravico and Smirch Django, who are the net race leaders if you consider the coming pit stops to come. Zotal reckons, it's a fairly decent shout for Mex to stay out. And it's a P1 for the Alpine driver, Kaboza, now up to P2 on those mediums that he started this race with. Seppo Temba, P3, as things currently stand. Now, it has been a nightmare season for Seppo Temba. The absolutely prodigious talent as far as BrakeAway Racing League is concerned. But since the start of this season, he has started 5 races and crashed out in 4 of them. 0 points for Seppo Temba in feature races, that must be said. 0 points, so many DNFs. We know what kind of We know what kind of results he's capable of. We've seen how he took to the top tier like a duck to water all those seasons ago. But he really struggled this season. Perhaps the new regulation cars and the F123 game will bear him to better fortunes, but Tempo Temba in desperate need of, well, forward momentum here as far as the rest of his season is concerned. Sun Hashira started on the hards and finds himself now in P4. A little respite, considering some of the struggles that we saw him go through. The 86er, currently P5. Don Rabico, the net race leader, considering the pit stops yet to come, is now 6th. Smirch Django trying to hang on to his coattails and also trying to find that confidence to bring him back to the kind of pace that we saw when he was on the controller. Loveness is currently 8th, and his teammate Romeo, a.k.a. Mandla, currently P9. Man Ray, 10th, the final point spot. And Igawako, a.k.a. D-Wax, running in P11. Debo Crop, Bongani, and Gwenya, currently P12. And Tindo, P13. I am Lipo, currently I am P14. Having come into the pits for a fresh set of hard compound tires. You will, of course, recall that the safety car came out as a result of this man losing a wing. And he's now scampering towards the back of the pack in what we could only hope is the last of the laps under a safety car. And then it's going to be a battle of wits at the restart to see who exactly can hold their nerve and do well enough to, well, steal a march on the rest of the runners. Lipo has a season's best P9 finish. That was in Abu Dhabi back in race number 2. He sadly crashed out the first race in Miami. He came home P13 in the feature race in Imola. And he crossed the line P11 in Monaco and Australia as well. So, rookie season for Lipo has already found himself in the points, which, well, in this field of drivers is not always an easy thing to do. So, Lipo looking to take full advantage here. Should more drivers slip up, he will be right there to grab the opportunity with both hands. Lipo, who has also made his way through the BrakeAway Racing League pyramid, if you will, now finds himself among the top tier with 20 laps of racing still to go. It will be led, of course, by this man, Mex, who is looking absolutely sensational. Behind Mex is his former teammate, Kaboza. From friends to foes, as far as last season to this one is concerned. We will have 20 more laps of racing, 20 more laps of action. Thank you for choosing BrakeAway Racing League as your league of choice. It is a Thursday night top-tier BrakeAway Racing League action. Mex will lead the way, and right now Mex weaves to the left and to the right, trying to, well, get some temperature up into those 7, soon-to-be 8-lap-old medium compound tires. When will Mex send it? Kaboza is expecting it now, but Mex chooses to do so at this exact moment. Behind Kaboza, of course, is Tempo Temba, who will get that move down into turn 1. It looks like a clean entry for the top 2. Tempo Temba with a send over there. He hits Sun Hashira, and it looks like the 86er also had a moment with Sun Hashira, but they stay in P4 and 5 respectively. So Sun Hashira with a move absolutely stolen from him over there, and it was an absolute send by Tempo Temba, who is now up to P3 as things currently stand. Absolutely sensational drama at the restart. Tempo Temba also one of those 8-lap hold medium compound tires, as is the case with the top 2 drivers. On board we go with the AlphaTauri driver who took no prisoners into turn 1. Sun Hashira and the 86er will have something to say as far as that fight back is concerned. Meanwhile, Don Rabico fighting his way back up the pack, as is Smirch Django. Oh, there's a car spinning in the background. It looks like Igawako, aka D-Wax, and Debo Croc had some sort of coming together. Oh man, it's a nightmare restart for Igawako, aka D-Wax, but look at this, Don Rabico, Smirch Django, fighting their way up the pack, slowly but surely, and it looks quite tight into that left-hander, and Don Rabico now into P5, as Django looks to hang on to his coattails. Django does not want too many cars between himself and the prospective the prospective net race leader, that being Don Rabico, who is now trying also to catch back up to the front of the pack. Back to the battle for the race lead we go. The Aston Martins are running pretty much a back-to-back. Ooh, Sun Hasher is struggling in the final sequence of corners over there. He went a little bit wide, and that, of course, is going to slow down his teammates. But will Sun Hasher make way? No! He's absolutely sending it down towards turn 1. Don Rabico on the inside of his teammates. Will this be a moment? Will they make contact into turn 1? Sun Hasher tried. He huffed, he puffed, but he could not hang on to P4 because Don Rabico says, I will be the lead driver, not only in the team, but, of course, in this particular race as well. Smirch Jangle trying once again to hang on to the coattails of Don Rabico. It's the battle for the potential next race lead. Meanwhile, at the front, Caboza has assumed the lead of the race, overtaken Mex. As we've watched the battle to the midfield, Smirch Jangle is looking for an inch, is looking for a little bit of something. As Sun Hasher defends the inside, Jangle will go the long way around, and Jangle may yet get this move done, or can he? They make contact with the left-hander, but Jangle has enough to claim that P5 spot as things currently stand. Back to the battle for the race lead we go, as Don Rabico has overtaken Seppo Tembo on the long DRS straight, now up to P3, hunting his way up the pack. It's a yellow flag in Sector 2, not sure what that is about. It's another safety car, as Mex was going on the hunt versus Capoza again. What in the world? Oh, contact! Mex hits Caboza on the safety car. Oh, it's a 5-second penalty for Mex, who was doing so well, but that moment under the safety car, that collision with Caboza earns him a 5-second penalty. Oh, man. What an absolutely heartbreaking scenario for the man who worked so hard. May as well come into the pits as Caboza wastes no time doing exactly that. Don Rabico will, of course, claim the race lead as Tempo Temba, who was doing so well to find himself so high up, gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. When it rains, it pours as far as Tempo Temba season is concerned. A fresh set of hard compound tires. Thank you for the positive comments there, Sir Lancelot and Liddy in the comments section. Do appreciate that. As Bongani, Debo Croc has left the session. Why is that? Is it a disconnect, perhaps? I do hope that Bongani, Debo Croc, and Gwenya can make his way back. Because, well, P7 is a decent position. But, of course, soft tires, he would have wanted to change that. Now, let's take you through proceedings and see exactly what is going on here. As far as the current standings are concerned, Don Rabico is really running away with this championship. Currently in P1 from Smirch Jangle and Loveness in P2 and 3, respectively. Manray, 4th. Tindo, P5. Caboza, 6th. Bongani, 7th. That's Debo Crab. And Kobacco, D-Wax, we saw have a moment earlier on. P8. Seppo Temba, 9th. Sun Hashira, P10. Mex, 11th. The 86er, 12th. Mandla, 13th. I am Lipo. Currently, I am P14 with a fresh set of medium compound tires to boot. Well, folks, I could barely catch my breath here, but of course the safety car is an opportunity to do exactly that. It's been a long time, and we've certainly missed bringing you all the Breakaway Racing League action. It is ample, well, it is the perfect time to resume our top-tier season in pretty much mid-winter conditions if you're in the Southern Hemisphere and in South Africa particularly. Of course, Breakaway Racing League has a whole contingent of drivers, not only from across the continent, but we also have drivers based in India as well. We've got the likes of Definitely Duke based in Abuja, Nigeria, and long may that continue. Long may Breakaway Racing League expand beyond borders and, well, be a truly multinational league. We've got 2 drivers heading into the pits. That's Debo Croc and Seppo Temba. Not sure if Seppo Temba is coming into the pits purely to serve his 5-second time penalty, course, they can't work on that AlphaTauri until that 5 seconds has been served, which it has. So Tsepo Temba has no more debts to pay as far as time penalties are concerned, and will try to fight his way from the back of the pack. Can he get it done? It's going to be a tall order in this field, but Tsepo Temba being Tsepo Temba, you never know what he can pull out. Might yet pull a rabbit out of the hat. Good luck to him from P14 this time around. So down Ravico from Django. Loveness is third. Man Ray and Tindo make it a Red Bull 4-5 at the moment. Caboza P6. And Kawako, aka D-Wax, is pretty much taking advantage of all these drivers making mistakes and pitting at different times, and he's clawed his way up to P7. Ngawako D-Wax was involved a little bit of a moment before the second safety car came out, so he will just set his sights on Caboza and Tindo ahead of him and fight his way up the pack. Ngawako, aka D-Wax, teammates this season with none other than Ban Kobe, and he's doing his best, is D-Wax, to keep that consistent streak of claiming points as far as he can possibly go. He finished 10th in Miami, came home 6th in Abu Dhabi, P10 in the feature race in Imola, and the one DNF that he had thus far was in Australia, where he crashed out. Meanwhile, Ban Kobe has claimed P9 in the first race and P10 in Abu Dhabi, and Ban Kobe, the man from Protea in Soweto, looking to stake his claim on a decent season. Well, look at that. A little bit of traffic here between D-Wax, Sun Ashura, and Max, who came to a complete standstill here in this beginning of the third sector. Don Ravico will be the man to lead proceedings at the race restart. We had only 2 laps, or barely. Yeah, 2 laps or so of racing before the second safety car came out. So we really do hope that we can get some decent action here when the safety car finally comes in, which it will do so, as you've seen the notice from race control. If you've just joined us, welcome to lap 12 of a total 28. Welcome to Texas. Welcome to the Circuit of the Americas. We will see exactly how things will fare.
Maravele, mababe kefu uloveness na uloveness akadlali na angayisenda dayidi. Uchango bakamthathela lepithu.
Yes, it is possible. Of course, Loveness has been known to, well, catch you slipping if you are not careful enough. Man Ray will stake his claim. Oh, Don Ravico sent it early. Loveness was caught napping over there. And look at that. Loveness already a second behind the leading pair. It's Django who is huffing and puffing, trying to stay in touch as Caboza and Tindo are having a titanic tussle. Caboza's on the inside of Tindo going into turn 1. Well, they make a little bit of contact. Caboza had to cut the corner there almost made contact. And Caboza has got it done. Now up to P5 as he fights his way back up the pack. Fresh set of medium compound tires. It is advantage Caboza in these early stages as the hard compound tires work their way up to optimum temperature. Look at Man Ray struggling through the braking zones. Sunhasher earns a 3-second time penalty a little bit further back, but Caboza is hunting down Man Ray here at the beginning of lap 13 of 28. He's got the grip. He's got the traction. He's going on the outside, switches to the inside, and it's Caboza on the attack before this left-hander, but he opts to let Man Ray take the corner first. Why? Because eventually he will claim a DRS, but not exactly on this lap. Caboza got that move a little bit wrong, and now he's fighting for his life against Man Ray. I say that. He has got the move done, but he's under attack. He's under duress. He's under siege from both the Red Bulls. It's Man Ray and Tindo hunting down Caboza, but he hangs on to that, and he takes that left-hander with aplomb. Caboza now hunting down Loveness, who has since slipped about 1.6 seconds behind Smirch Django. Will catch up with that action in a second or two. For now, though, it's Caboza being hunted down by the 2 Red Bulls. We're on board now with the second of those Red Bulls. That is Man Ray, whose teammate Tindo is definitely slipping a little bit further away. Man Ray has to be careful because behind him is the specter of none other than Ngawako, aka D-Wax. Look how close he is. Oh, D-Wax almost makes a little bit of contact with Man Ray. Oh, it's a huge moment. It's a huge accident. Man Ray is facing the wrong way, and Man Ray is down to P11 as Ngawako D-Wax outbraked himself straight into the Red Bull, and he himself lost a couple of positions down to P10. It is absolute pandemonium here in lap 14 on the top tier of BrakeAway Racing League. Man, oh man, oh man. Nkawako, aka D-Wax, had a huge moment there. Might have taken some significant damage as far as his wing is concerned. And we saw all that action as he had that huge moment. Now it's Sun Hashra hunting down the 86er. Lap 14 of 28, top tier BrakeAway Racing League action. Oh, how I have missed this. As Deep Snakes and says the stewards will have their work cut out at the end of this race. Now it is Sun Hashra thinking about where exactly to plant that car. Almost making contact with the back of the Ferrari. Has to cut that corner almost. It is the 86er fighting for his life. Breathing through the wound is the Ferrari driver, but he hangs on for dear life. Hangs on for P6. And as he fights fights off the Spectre of the Aston Martin and Alpine behind him, it is P6 to P7 because Sun Hashra gets that move done cleanly on the 86er and says, thank you very much. I will now look ahead to Tindo possibly. The 86er breathing through the wound, fighting for his life because right now he is trying to cling on to P7. Look behind him. It's Mex. It's Mandla. And the 86er, of course, is also one of those 3-lap-old hard compound tires. So it's pretty much even Stevens with the likes of Mex and Romeo as things currently stand in lap number 15 of 28. A couple of you responding to the comments to some of the really hectic dive bombs and really hectic moments that we saw as far as drivers making contact is concerned. Yeah, perhaps it's a little bit of rustiness, as some of you were saying. It's been a long time since these drivers were involved in some league racing action, but we are oh so grateful for the entertainment that they're putting on. And thank you very much to the camera director who gives us that beautiful sweeping helicopter shot of Sector 1 of the Circuit of the Americas. If you've just joined us, it has been sensationally entertaining. We've had 2 safety cars, and we have had absolute titanic tussles at the restarts, respectively. Look at Mex hunting down the 86er, keeping his racing line absolutely clinical and bridging that gap to mere inches at the rear wing of the Ferrari ahead of him. It's Mex with the DRS. It's Mex with 25% of ERS as Tindo and Capozzo are having another moment a little bit further ahead. We watch Mex open up that rear wing, but he's not quite close enough to get that move done. And the 86er lives to breathe another day. Breathe again. As Tony Braxton said, all those years ago, we hop back on board with Capozzo versus Tindo. Yes, it's not exactly plain sailing for Capozzo as things currently stand, but he's still within 4/10 of the Red Bull ahead of him as the top 2 drivers, Don Ravico, Smirch Jangle, beginning lap 16 of 28. If you've just joined us, you're in time for some fantastic, sensational last third, if you will, of this race. Capozzo struggling to stay in touch with the Red Bull ahead of him. Sun Hashra, meanwhile, has had a moment behind. It looks like the 86er and Mex are trading blows. We'll catch up with that battle as we get a beautiful shot of all these cars slaloming through Sector 1, through the iconic S section at this circuit here in Texas. It's a beautiful day, as you can see. No inclement weather as we've had in previous races this season. So it's a decent decent day for these drivers to get racy on this F123 platform. It's Capozzo having a little bit of a moment with the rear end, hunting down Tindo. Loses a little bit of ground, and that gap between P4 and 5 now 0.8 of a second. Back we go on board with Don Ravico, who once again has been imperious. Peerless once again at the front of the pack, putting on an absolute clinic is Don Ravico, now with a 2.2 second buffer to none other than Smirch Jangle, who gave the former champion Seaflay nightmares last season, but has not had things very easily for himself this season. Smirch Jangle, thankfully for him, he did claim a race win in Australia to Jangle. But it hasn't really been smooth sailing for him this season. Loveness, what a day for him. 9-lap-old hard compound tires, soon to be 10, currently running in P3 and has, not the greatest of buffers between himself and Tindo, who is now within touching distance. And Capozzo is also within DRS of the Red Bull ahead of him. Now we're on board with Capozzo, and ahead of him is the battle between Tindo and Loveness. Let's hop on board with Tindo to see what his viewpoint is like. He's now looking comfortable, is the Red Bull driver, as Loveness has a little bit of a moment, and Tindo almost coming too close there. Yellow flag in Sector 3. Looks like Lipo has had a moment out of the final corner. He's completely stationary. If you look at the track map there, Lipo is now moving, and that yellow flag should be cleared. Yes, it's green flags. It's back to normal racing conditions. Somebody's just come into the pits as we watch this three-way battle. Capoza, Tindo, Loveness fighting it out for the third and final podium spot here with about 11 laps of racing to go. Man, oh man, oh man. What kind of entertainment will we see? What kind of entertainment, what kind of racing will we get between now and the end of proceedings? I absolutely cannot wait. Oh, it's been good so far. Tindo with a little bit of a moment with the rear end. Capoza will smell blood. Capoza not quite close enough to take full advantage there of that slight little tweak, that slight little twinge that Tindo had there. Hanging on for P4, which would be a very, very good day for Tindo. Now remember, Tindo is in a Red Bull today, but he is nominally an Alpine driver. Tindo is actually Mex's teammate, but today is commandeered a Red Bull. Ooh, Sun Hashira is having a time penalty shootout of his own here. Another 3-second time penalty for Sun Hashira to go with the penalty that Seppo Temba has also racked up there, as we watch Capoza try to stay in touch with the drivers in P3 and 4 respectively. Another yellow flag in Sector 3. Who is that? Look at the track map. It's a slow-moving Lipo who might yet be lapped if he's not very careful. So Lipo really struggling, spinning all around the track here, and really struggling bring out the yellow flag in Sector 3, but that has since been cleared as Lipo is moving again. Crash was remarking earlier on about Tindo's straight line speed, which may yet come into view as they go down this DRS stretch. Capoza looking to take advantage. Capoza is on the inside, or was ever so briefly, has now tucked into the slipstream of the Red Bull. Tindo with the red light flashing, battery power down to 10% or less. Capoza has conserved his battery power. He has the inside line. He has the advantage. He has P4. And will now look to hunt down Loveness once again. It's been a series of battles that Capoza has been embroiled in, as Lipo brings out another yellow flag. Struggling out there is Lipo, pretty much going to be lapped at this particular point, not having such a great time, adapting, of course, to F123. Hopefully, the races to come can bear him to better fortunes, but for now, it's the battle for P3, the final podium spot that we're watching Capoza huff and puff and try to have his say. Meanwhile, Tindo and Sun Hashira are having a moment of their own. No, Sun Hashira eventually came into the pit lane and racked up a time penalty for those efforts, speeding in the pit lane. Oh, Tindo, aging tires, 11 laps old versus Capoza's 8-lap-old tires. Struggled coming out of the corner there. Perhaps Tindo has sacrificed downforce and traction for raw straight line speed. The 86er, the latest to get slapped with a 3-second time penalty. Look at Sun Hashira, 11 seconds worth of time penalties. It's a time penalty shootout, but pretty much with himself, Sun Hashira. So, yeah, not exactly smooth sailing there. Capoza was on the brink. On the brink. He's flirting with that DRS marker, but look at that. He did manage to cross the detection point to be able to activate that DRS there, but Loveness got a much cleaner exit, and Capoza could not make his presence felt there. We will soon have about 8 laps of racing to go, because our leading pair, Don Rabico and Smirch Django, will be on the verge of crossing the line to begin lap 20 of a total 28. So if you just joined us, man, it's been decently entertaining. Don Ravico, once again, possibly on the verge of another beautiful result as far as his season is concerned. Don Ravico started off this season with 4 straight victories before Smirch Django broke that streak in Australia when Django won that. But it's not so smooth for him today. He's almost 5 seconds behind the race leader. Loveness a further 2.8 seconds behind. And just so you get a sense of the kind of performance that Don Ravico is putting on. Loveness is about 7.5 seconds behind the leader. Caboza is about, soon to be 9 seconds behind Don Ravico. Tindo, 9.6. And then from Mex onwards, it is 11 seconds plus. We have lost Ngawako, a.k.a. D-Wax, sadly, to a possible disconnect. So hopefully he can make his way back into the lobby in time to be able to finish this race and claim some decent haul of points here. What a beautiful shot we're getting here down this back straight. Tindo is back in fighting form, in a fighting mood, and he's managed to trim that gap down to well within half a second here. But Man Ray a little bit further back racks up a 3-second time penalty. Ooh. Tindo almost having a moment with the back of Caboza's car. Ngawako, a.k.a. D-Wax, back in the lobby, back to stake his claim for a possible points finish. He's got a decent chance, does Ngawako, courtesy of Sun Hashra's 11-second time penalty. But that disconnect might cost him. Caboza, interestingly, opting to call it and go in to the pits. Or was that Caboza? No, it was Lipo who came into the pits. I beg your pardon. It was Lipo who had already been lapped, coming into the pits and calling it a day. So Lipo, the struggle was just way too much and was having so many moments that bringing out so many yellow flags, and that is Lipo's race over. And for all the drivers that are currently running, it is one less competitor to find yourself in the points. Welcome to BrakeAway Racing League action. Oh, Tindo racks up a 3-second time penalty, which will cost him dearly in this fight that he's been having with Caboza up until now. And never mind that, Caboza, meanwhile, has fallen out of the reckoning. He's all the way down in P10. Mex is now Tindo's closest competitor within half a second. And with that 3-second time penalty, he will make light work of Tindo. And there is pretty much nothing that he could do there. Mex using up all of that battery to get that overtake done. And Tindo not faring too well there. He only has about 11% of his battery remaining. A huge mistake might have cost Caboza. He was well in the running for a possible podium finish, but now finds himself all the way down in P10. Costly mistakes. Caboza actually pitted. I beg your pardon. It wasn't necessarily a mistake. Caboza perhaps going for the fastest lap over here. I'm not sure if Caboza is expecting a huge mistakes here, or if he pitted because he took too much wing damage. But, it could have been a podium finish for Caboza. But sadly, he's now going to be fighting his way from way downtown. Sun Hashra has been racking up the time penalties. And as it stands, he's going on the attack versus Mandla. It's Sun Hashra on the inside of the Haas. Mandla is not going down without a fight. It's Thursday action night, but Sun Hashra had the tire advantage, the grip advantage, and now he's up to P7. Mandla will have to contend with that P8 spot, but Sun Hashra's time penalties will of course cost him dearly. So Mandla at the moment is sandwiched between two drivers whose penalties really will cost them way too much. Caboza, who recently pitted, becomes the latest to earn a penalty of his own, as a Nintendo Wii is back once again to cheer on Mex. A Nintendo Wii, one of Mex's biggest cheerleaders, along with the likes of Brendan N-Cube. And that is Caboza, or rather, it's Caboza versus Tepo Temba. With the fresher tires, Caboza had that inside line, making light work of Tepo Temba there in lap 22 of 28. And he's now up to P9, hunting down Mandla. So this fight back by Caboza is going to be one to watch very, very carefully at this point. Grip is at an absolute premium. You're seeing the adjustments that the drivers are having to make as they compensate for the cars sliding offline. Ooh, Caboza sends it on the inside through the fast sequence of right-handers. They make a little bit of contact, but Caboza said, no matter what it takes, Noma Kanjani, I will go through, and it's P8 for Caboza now. And Mandla will not be impressed with that little bit of moment of contact. Kaposa absolutely sending it, and is now hunting down Sunhashira. It is not going to be easy as Smirch Jangle becomes the latest to earn a 3-second time penalty all the way up in P2. And that'll give Loveness a little bit of hope. If the Haas driver can keep it clean here and trim this gap, it may yet be very, very interesting between now and the end of the race. It may yet be a memorable P2 for Loveness if he can find some magic between now and the end of the race. Let's go back to see the action. Seppo Temba versus Mandla, both of whom have 3-second time penalties. But the AlphaTauri driver is within touching distance here. We'll go on board with Seppo Temba as Mandla's red light is flashing, meaning that battery is down to 10% or less. So a lot of harvesting of power that Mandla's going to have to do between now and the end of proceedings. I see some of you can barely believe the level of time penalties that Sunhashira has racked up. 14 seconds in total as Nintendo Wii expects a podium for Mex. Well, it may yet be the case, because I'll tell you what, Mex is almost within touching distance of Loveness here. Let's get back to see the sort of tire offset that may yet be seen as things currently stand. Crash is agreeing with some of the sentiments in the comment section here. We're on board with Seppo Temba, who has Romeo, aka Mandla, within his crosshairs. The target is Mandla. The target is the Haas driver. The target is P9 minimum. So says Seppo Temba in the cockpit of the AlphaTauri. And it's a clean exit out of the final corner as Seppo Temba will hunt down that Haas ahead of him. So currently P9 and 10 respectively. Seppo Temba is right on his coattails, almost making contact with those rear wheels. Let's see now who's got the slightly better grip through the slaloming Sector 1 here at the Circuit of the Americas. They look like they're fairly even Stevens here, but Mandla looking to be getting reeled in ever so slightly here. Really hacking away at that steering wheel as the Haas driver gets a fairly decent exit down the hill towards the left-hander and then towards that DRS straight. We'll catch up with them. Mex versus Loveness are at the end of that straight, and Loveness holds on for dear life. It's Mex who had the outside line, soon to be inside line, but he wasn't close enough. Oh, Mex is really fighting for his life here. He's really within touching distance. He almost got that move done. And Loveness hanging on for dear life. None of these drivers have time penalties. So it's the final podium spot at stake here. And as you can see, both on hard compound tires, there's a yellow flag somewhere out on track in Sector 3. I wonder who that is for, but it's quickly cleared. Someone is tumbling down the order. It's Sunhashira, as Kaposa has had a huge collision with Sunhashira and earns a drive-through penalty as a result. But we are, of course, watching this battle for the final podium spot. They've now begun lap 25 of 28. Have the leading pair, that being Don Radical and Jangle. Oh, we've got a DNF. It's Kaposa. Kaposa is out of the race. And as Tindo comes into the pit lane, he racks up a 5-second penalty for speeding. Kaposa becomes the second driver to DNF out of this race. Kaposa is out. Some of you in the comment section, Crash and Peace, barely believing the kind of penalties that were given there. But that is a nightmare scenario for Kaposa. And, Tindo's just racking up the time penalties. Mex versus Loveness, who defends the inside line. Mex says, all right, I'll take the long way around and try for his switcheroo on the exit of this corner. But not quite the grip, not quite the momentum to execute that cleanly. Now, Mex versus Loveness. This is going to be a tasty prospect to watch. The third and final podium spot. And as these two fight, it is pretty much a battle of wits to make sure that they do not incur that 3-second time penalty. As Liddy responds saying, man, oh man, these drivers are rusty. It's been too long since they were in competitive league racing action. And all these mistakes, all these penalties being racked up, it's uncharacteristic of the kind of driving that we had become used to in the top tier BrakeAway League racing. It's Mex with DRS, it's Mex on the hunt, it's Mex towards turn 1 hunting down Loveness, who's doing a sensational job to keep the Alpine at bay. 19 lap versus 15 lap old tires, back on board with goal. We go with Mex being cheered on enthusiastically by Nintendo Wii and of course by the likes of Brendan N-Cube somewhere in South Africa. Right now, Mex within 0.3 of a second of the Haas ahead of him. And of course, they're 7.7 seconds behind the leading pair, so that may yet be that as far as being out of that picture. And this really is a battle of wit for that third and final podium spot. 24% with the battery power does Mex have versus Loveness's 21%. So they're both trying to be as circumspect as they possibly can, not use too much of that battery. Here comes Mex on the attack now. It's Mex side by side. It's Mex ahead through this DRS stretch, and it's a beautifully executed move. Mex using up that battery all the way down to 11%, but with just 2 laps of racing to go, Loveness may yet be content to allow Mex to have his little moment, knowing that he may yet fight back and claw his way back to that P3 spot, the third and final podium spot. But Mex is no mug. He will not make it easy at all. And as the fire emojis come raining in the comment section, look at Mex. That gap is now almost a second. He will almost break that DRS, but Loveness being Loveness will not make it easy. Mex trying to break that DRS is now flashing that red light, meaning that battery is, of course, down to its last. And Loveness will bide his time, try to harvest as much power as he possibly can. And it must be noted, of course, that as Mex made that move on Loveness, he didn't fight it too hard to the Haas driver. Oh no! That is pretty much the kind of mistake that Loveness would have been avoiding. He would have been on 2 warnings. Loveness was lining up a move on the final couple of laps, but he racks up a 3-second time penalty. It's advantage Mex. Unless, of course, he makes that mistake under pressure. So now, Loveness has to force that mistake out of Mex to make sure that it's even Stevens and that both drivers have that 3 seconds worth of time penalties. Look at that, folks. Django, Loveness, the 86er, Teppo Temba, Mandla, Tindo, Sunhashira, and Manray, all with time penalties. It's an unforgiving track here if you want to toy with track limits. Meanwhile, let's see how Mandla is faring in this battle versus Teppo Temba. As Liddy rightly notes that Loveness had ERS advantage in that battle versus Mex. And now that may yet be an opportunity squandered because the leading drivers had, of course, begun the final lap of this race. They're making their way now through the beginning of the second sector. And despite the time penalty, Smirch Django had really fought back and clawed back to within 1 second of the race leader. It's beautiful stuff here, and we may yet be in line for some fantastic or interesting entertainment, even though we have that time penalty to contend with. Perhaps Don Rabico is just not fighting too much, knowing that he knows that he's got that advantage as far as time penalties are concerned. Were it not for that 3-second penalty, Smirch Django may yet have tried to execute the same sort of audacious last lap move that he made on Seaclay in last year's tightly contested title tussle, but not going to be the case this time around with that time penalty. They're now going to make their way towards the finish line, and what a day, what a race they've had. Even Loveness is trying to give Mex something to think about, but as he does so, we really have to tip our hats to take to our feet and give a round of applause once again to the imperious Don Revico, who wins, and Django goes crashing into the wall. But did he cross the line is the question? The answer is yes. And he's very lucky. Mex claims the third and final podium spot from Loveness, who comes home in P4. The 86er with all those time penalties, how much will that cost him? Making his way now towards the line. It's going to be P5, but will he hang on to that? Because Tefo Temba is coming across the line. Looks like it may yet be enough for the 86er to hang on to that. It's going to be P6, and it's a first points finish for Tefo Temba. First time this season. Mandla Romeo, another decent outing for him. P7, Tindo with a 13-second time penalty compared to Sun Hashira's 12-second time penalty. What will that look like by the time he crosses the line? P8 for now. Sun Hashira, it should be P9. And Ingawako, a.k.a. D-Wax, I saw him slip out of the lobby earlier on. I hope he made it back in time. It's going to be P8 for Ingawako, a.k.a. D-Wax. 9 for Tindo, 10 for Sun Hashira. Manray, despite that valiant early effort, is going to come home in P11, and Devo Croc in P12. What a race that was. Nintendo Wii cheering on Mex, who came home in the podium places. Man, oh man, oh man. What a race that was. That was thoroughly entertaining as these drivers try to work their way back to peak racing condition, peak racing fitness, as the Lebanese flag is raised by none other than Don Ravico. Once again, in sensational imperious form, he takes home the trophy here at the Circuit of the Americas. Once again, putting on a show and showing us exactly what he is made of as far as his own quality is concerned. Celebrations for Don Ravico and for the likes of Mex there on the podium. Perhaps we will see more and more of this top three occupying those podium places. Would you look at that? Don Ravico, the class of the field, once again, the quickest driver on track. He claimed the fastest lap. That's a valuable, precious extra point. A 1 minute 37.138. He was the first person to join us in this commentary. Don Ravico, top step of the podium. It's familiar territory. You're doing your thing. How did that feel? Please take us through your quali session and the race. Congratulations, sir.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Thank you. No, the race was good. Quali wasn't that bad. I was glad that it dried up so I could enjoy the race more, because the rain, when it rains, you don't really enjoy it. It's too long. At 50% race.
Yeah.
But yeah, the race was quite, it went as planned. Nothing major, nothing hectic. It was a calm race. I think my main focus today was just to secure the championship. I think the championship is secured now, even if I don't race the last three races. There's no way of catching up to the points. I think the championship is sealed now. So I'm glad this season went well, and I'm happy.
Oh, man, Don Ravico, and what a season it's been for you. Pretty much since stepping into the BrakeAway Racing League setup, you have been nothing short of imperious. And at the first try, at the first time of asking, you've pretty much yanked the crown from none other than Smirch Django. Now, Don Ravico, I just want to hear from you. It's been a rusty race as far as most of our drivers in this race is concerned. I just want to hear from you how much time you had been putting ever since the F123 came in, and if it felt rusty for you in racing conditions today or not.
No, it wasn't that much rusty, but it's just that Kota, we you know me and Django practice together all the time. So Kota today was the first time we went on Kota, and we didn't really practice that much. We just did some couple of TT laps before the race, and then we just went into it. We were confident that we had the pace to get P1 and P2.
And do that exactly you did. Smirch Django, it's P2. It's back to the podium places. Congratulations, sir. I want to hear how this race felt and how your quali felt. And also, where you're feeling in terms of your journey with the racing wheel. Congratulations.
Thank you, Tyson. It's great to have you back, man. I don't know if you're here to stay, but
definitely
we have you back. Yeah, congratulations to we have a new dawn, you know. But yeah, it's it's been amazing, man. Shout out to Don. He has helped me, way too much in regards to even the new wheel, setting up the wheel and everything, race pace, strategies, everything. Shout out to him. He deserves to be here. In regards to the race, you know, like Don said, it was a Sunday drive.
Wow,
Yeah,
must be nice.
just
Labantu bathi Sunday
just
drive.
need
Cabanga,
to.
abantu bayacruisa laba. Ipicnic kanti today.
Wow. Yes, Django.
Yeah, no need to risk, a lot. Safety cars nearly ruined a few things, but no need to risk a lot because, we know everybody is rusty. So, yeah. And then quali was nice. The rain. Uh, I think I enjoyed the inters quite a bit because we normally don't practice, intermediate
Yeah.
conditions. So it was a nice change. But yeah, all in all, amazing race. Yeah, thanks.
Beautifully done. Congratulations, Max. I'll come to you. It's P3. It's back on the podium. I want to talk about your pace, Max. I want to talk about the kind of work that you have or that you might have been putting into F123 and the pace that you have and how you see not only the rest of this season, but also next season is concerned in terms of challenging for the championship. Congratulations, Max.
Thank you, Tyson. Thank you, Tyson. It's great to have you back. In terms of the practice I had before, I actually got this game like a week after it dropped, and I've
Yeah.
kind of just been grinding since. Hey, so to hear these guys on a Sunday drive today,
Yo, hey, yo.
but I feel like maybe I could have even, given them a headache if it wasn't obviously for me running into Topoza in the safety car. It was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
stupid mistake. Just wasn't paying attention to the delta. So that kind of ruined the strategy, but also played a bit into my hand because the tire dig, especially in Coda, is crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just was taking care of the tires in the beginning, making sure I have some tire left to push to the end, and yeah, I had a great battle with Loveness at the end there.
Wow, man, that was super, super entertaining. The last couple of laps with you and Loveness, gentlemen, really looking forward to the entertainment that you're all going to be giving us in the races to come. Don Rabico, pretty much staking his claim on the top tier crown. I cannot wait to see you guys fighting it out, and only to complete this season. And of course, as the likes of some of the quicker tier 2 drivers make their way up through the promotion ladder. Gentlemen, congratulations to all three of you. We will be catching you in the next race. Remember, Tier 2 races on this channel. Every Tier 2 races on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. and Tier 3 on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. So do make sure you tune in. And Tier 1 will be back Thursday at 7:30 for that full quali session. Thank you, gentlemen. We will be seeing you next time. And before we just end this broadcast, I also want to just catch up with some of your final comments that you might have placed over here. Thank you to Kaboza and Nintendo Wii and Lydia, of course, and Zotal Crash, who were also in the comment section, to the former champion Titus and Deep Saint, who was also here, and of course, definitely Duke and everyone who was in the comment section as well. Thank you, everybody. We will see you next time, and good night.
Thank you, Tyson.